Cellular respiration. In this lesson, we'll look at the science and engineering practices of analyzing and interpreting data, as well as using mathematics and computational thinking. We'll observe the cross-cutting concepts of energy and matter, and structure and function. So how is digested food used by the body? The body needs a constant supply of energy, which comes from digested food. Glucose from digested carbohydrates is an important substance that contains stored chemical energy. When glucose reacts with oxygen, a lot of energy is released. In the body's cells, glucose and oxygen react to release energy. Some of this is released as heat, and the rest is used by the cells. So what is the release of energy from glucose called? What is respiration? Respiration is the process that the body uses to release energy from digested food. Glucose plus oxygen. The glucose comes from the digestive system. The oxygen from the respiratory system, from breathing, gives us carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Carbon dioxide is a waste product that we exhale, and water is a waste product that we exhale as well. This type of respiration is called aerobic respiration because energy is released in the presence of oxygen. So how do the glucose and oxygen needed for aerobic respiration get to all of the body's cells? The equation for aerobic respiration. What is the equation for aerobic respiration? Well, first we have to have glucose, and we have to have oxygen, and that releases carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So how do the cells get oxygen and glucose? Which body systems are involved in respiration? The gas exchange system. The gas exchange system includes the lungs. Inhalation moves oxygen into the lungs. This oxygen is absorbed by the blood. Exhalation removes carbon dioxide from the lungs. The digestive system. The digestive system includes the stomach and the small and large intestines. Digestion breaks down food into small compounds such as glucose that the body can use. And finally, the circulatory system. The circulatory system includes the heart, arteries, veins, and capillaries. It supplies cells with oxygen carried by the blood. The heart pumps blood around the body through arteries and veins. Capillaries carry blood to cells. So what is the energy used for? The energy released from the breakdown of glucose is used for essential life processes. These include building complex molecules, growth and repair, sending messages along nerve cells, movement of muscles, keeping the body temperature constant. Aerobic and anaerobic respiration. When the body is able to supply its cells with the oxygen and glucose that they need, it carries out aerobic respiration. Recall the aerobic respiration is when we use glucose and oxygen, we break those down, we release carbon dioxide, water, and energy. When the body cannot supply the cells with the oxygen needed to break down glucose, it has to carry out anaerobic respiration. Energy is released without oxygen. So in this case, There's no oxygen present, so our glucose is broken down into lactic acid and energy. Anaerobic respiration does not replace aerobic respiration. Only cells that require more energy, such as muscle cells, will carry out anaerobic respiration if there is not enough oxygen present. So if there's not enough oxygen, we have glucose, it's broken down into lactic acid, and energy is released. When anaerobic respiration takes place, lactic acid is produced. Lactic acid builds up in the muscle cells and prevents the muscles from doing their job. This is thought to cause fatigue and sometimes cramps. You probably are familiar with these muscle pains that occur when we are going through lactic acid burn. Think of the last time that you worked out really hard, and the next day you were extremely sore and fatigued. That is most likely because you ended up in oxygen debt and your body was burning lactic acid. After exercise, the body needs to remove the lactic acid before it causes damage to cells. Oxygen debt. Lactic acid is broken down by oxygen. Lactic acid plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide and water. After activity that has led to anaerobic respiration, the person involved breathes heavily and their heart rate remains high to supply the body with the oxygen it needs. The amount of oxygen needed to remove all the lactic acid after exercise is called an oxygen debt. So looking at a heart rate experiment, how does running affect your heart rate? Notice the slopes between the two lines are not the same. Heart rate increases during exercise until a maximum value is reached. When exercise stops, heart rate begins to fall again. The value for maximum heart rate depends on the intensity of the exercise and the fitness level of the person that is exercising. Notice this individual has a resting heart rate of around 60 beats per minute. This is thought to be a very healthy resting heart rate. Anaerobic respiration equations. What are the equations for anaerobic respiration? Glucose gives lactic acid plus energy. Lactic acid is then further burned by oxygen, and it gives off water and carbon dioxide in this process. Anaerobic respiration in microorganisms. Microorganisms such as yeast also carry out anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration in yeast produces carbon dioxide and ethanol and alcohol. So we have glucose, and the process of breaking down that glucose gives us carbon dioxide plus ethanol, as well as energy. Anaerobic respiration in yeast is often called fermentation. Fermentation is used in the production of beer and wine as it produces alcohol. So looking at these statements, are they true or are they false? The reactants of anaerobic respiration in humans include lactic acid. Number 2, anaerobic respiration produces energy. Number 3, anaerobic respiration in microorganisms requires oxygen. Number 4, lactic acid buildup can cause oxygen debt. Number 5, yeast uses glucose in anaerobic respiration. And number 6, ethanol is a product of anaerobic respiration in yeast.